Welcome to the jungle. It's the Big Game Hunters. Landon Hood, Jason Berard, MagnaSearchGroup.tv, hashtag MagnaOnAir. Landon, what's on the docket for today? Before you tell them, I'm going to tell them. What's on the docket today is the 5 questions that people need to ask themselves before leaving their current employer.
This is an important thing to address, Jason. We are constantly approaching people with amazing opportunities, and yet they have to look at their current opportunity and say, is it worth leaving? You know, what am I giving up? What am I going to take on? So today we're going to look at some very serious questions. You got to sit in the mirror, you got to look yourself in the eye, and you got to say, hey, Landon, hey, Jason, is this the right move?
Yeah, I think question number 1 is, what is the purpose of your emotions, right? Like, what are you really feeling when you're even thinking about leaving a job? Is like, why am I feeling this way?
Is it the timing that's happening right now?
Yeah.
Or did somebody, mistreat you? Is this just a frustrating time and things are going to get better? Or is it just been a consistent, bad time and, it's something that is not going to improve? So you have to realize, is this decision coming from an emotional place? Is it coming because it's bad right now? Or is it, consistently bad?
Yeah, you gotta also think why am I even entertaining something else? Like, why am I even why am I thinking about something?
I mean, that's human nature, is to always think, grass is greener, look at the other opportunities, say, am I making the most of what I'm happening? But at the same time, you got to ask certain questions. And what specifically about my current job is frustrating?
Like for me, for example, here was me. I don't like Landon.
Is it Landon?
I don't like working with Landon.
And is that emotionally driven?
But
is it because Landon ate your sandwich today? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Landon's a vulture. Now, if Landon is the reason for me thinking about leaving my job, wait a second. Do I like my job? Or do I just hate Landon?
Or do you just not like yourself?
Wait a second. Is Landon not a bad guy? Wait a second. So there's really self-assessment questions that you have to go through to figure out why you're even entertaining something.
Yeah, things to look at. Is it the people? Is it Landon? Is it the work that you're actually doing? Are you maybe you're not being properly recognized for your work. Maybe you feel like you're being creatively stifled.
Number 1, look out for number 1. Why are you feeling this way? Number 2,
figure it out.
Have I taken every action possible? Have I done whatever I could to really succeed in my current role?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Am I managing my time right? Maybe am I communicating properly to my managers? Are my work habits right? Is my schedule something that fits me? Are there things that I can change about my current opportunity? That will make it better for me.
Yeah, I think when the question mark size in this one is really important. So have I done everything in my power to make sure that I'm successful in my current job? If it's a small question mark, you don't literally leave too much for questioning. You're like, okay, yeah, no, I've done quite a bit. But if it's a big one, you're like, wait a second, I really haven't given it my all. Then that's a bit of a tougher challenge. Should, if you've got a great opportunity with great people that you're working with, really you want to make sure that you've given it your all. And at that point where it hasn't provided you with what you want right now in your career, then at that point, yes, you're good to go.
And honestly, sometimes if it is a situation where you feel like you're not being fulfilled with your job, it's very important to open up the lines of communication with your managers. Sit down with them, discuss taking on projects, just approach them about is it a money thing? And then if you feel like you're being undervalued, that's a big question. Some people, that's the reason they want to leave. Don't necessarily just leave and try to find someone. Don't have a plan B. You don't have something set. Talk. Keep it in the family. Discuss with your manager. Talk about, hey, listen, I feel like this is and we just talked. Roy and I just talked about this. Approach them and talk about where you think your value is and how you can maybe potentially get that right.
I think a lot of times too, candidates will get offered a job from somewhere else, and then from an employer to try to keep them, we'll try to match that offer. It's like, well, if there was truly that value in there before, you could have just asked beforehand before going through the process. Now you're seeing, it's always just a little bit of a messy situation. But I think, number 3 would be, I think very often we always wonder, is the grass really greener on the side, right?
Human nature,
what would life be like without Landon in my life? I know that would be greener.
Yeah.
But, when you're thinking about that, you got to recognize that that's a very natural thought process. Is the grass greener? Is the grass greener? Is the grass greener? You'll never know until you go visit that side, right? So what you have to actually ask yourself instead is, what am I foregoing if I leave this company right now? What am I letting go of? Is that the culture, the people?
Lists, pros and cons lists. It's very easy to focus on the cons of your job, but really look at the pros. Even if something as simple as the benefits package that you're receiving, if you're going to be looking at leaving, look at what you'd be giving up and what potentially this next opportunity has, and really weigh the pros and cons. But ultimately it's this. It's tough for people to bounce around. You can always be looking for the next best opportunity, and you can always move on. After a little bit of time and find something that looks better. But you don't. That's not necessarily the best move for your career. So you should always, always, always try to better your situation where it is and do the best thing that you possibly can. You basically have to look at it like this, what is my dream situation? Where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? Am I doing it? And if I'm not, can I get there where I'm at? If you address those situations, and again, it's about recognition, it's about schedule. Hey, are you looking for flexibility? Address those situations, ask those questions, and not just to yourself, but to your manager. Set up those times to meet and really get to the bottom of if you can better your situation there.
Yeah, I think again, that comes into number 4 is what are the, thinking about, okay, well, this is what happens if I leave. I lose, this culture. I lose this great commute, all these things, right? But also you have to think about, what happens if I stay? What are the growth opportunities if I stay? Do I have another 2 years before I get that next opportunity to really show? Or when am I going to get that pay raise? Those are questions that you have to kind of assess. And I don't think that thinking about compensation is a great idea for what you could get somewhere else. One of the points that I want to touch on is if you are a candidate, you really want to make sure that you're sticking at least 2 years, at least 2 years.
Longevity is a huge hiring factor for almost
the
any
last thing an employer wants to see is a hopper. And what I mean by that is someone that goes from job to job, salary hopping, salary shopping, looking for that next opportunity at all given points. They sign the contract, say, I'm your new employee. And as they're doing that, they're going maybe I should look at this paper here and wait for that next contract coming out.
And if your reasoning is, well, I found a better opportunity, paid more money, it's well, you're not a loyal
You're just waiting. You're just waiting for the next opportunity, right? So what are the growth opportunities currently? And if I leave, is that going to, 1, bump me up to that growth opportunity I'm looking for? And 2, or if it doesn't do that, if I go lateral, will it be more of an accelerated process to where I want to be, right? And that's the other thing that people have to ask. So, and then number 5, I think you alluded to it earlier, is what do I want right now?
What do you really want? And not just in terms of your day-to-day responsibilities, your time management, the things that we touched on earlier, but what do you want in your life, in your career, in your personal life? But where do you want to be? That's a question that employers...
$1 million. That's what I want.
Employers really want to address that. And the best employers want to know that about their employees. They don't want to know, what exactly you want to be doing day to day. They want to know, do you love sailing? Is that something that's your passion? Really take a look. And that's a hard question for a lot of people to ask themselves is, what do I want? What do women want? I know I don't know.
Who was it?
What's
Mel
with our
Gibson?
90s movie references these days?
Is that Mel Gibson that knows what it is?
Yeah, yours is Austin Powers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice. We're feeling it. We're feeling it today.
The 90s, yeah.
But yeah, when you're asking what do I want right now, even when you're going to the job interview. So say you've made the decision and you're I haven't really asked these questions, but I'm still going to go somewhere else and whatever.
Yeah.
If they ask you, what do you want right now in the interview process, or what your core values are, what you're looking for in your career right now, and you really don't have a good understanding or a good idea of it, it's not really going to come out great in your interview process. Yeah. So I think what you want right now might be number 1 that you have to ask yourself before anything. It's
very important. Of course. I mean, the whole reason that you're entertaining leaving the job is because you might not necessarily have what you want. Yeah. So find what you want and seize it, because that takes a lot of time. People think that it's easy, or I'll never figure it out. But if you just sit down, make lists. I love lists, pros, cons, top 10s, anything. Just sit down and look at what's frustrating you about your job if you're looking to leave, and what potentially would be better about this other opportunity that you may or may not be exploring. Yeah. That can really go a long way in determining what the best move is.
And the process can be daunting for switching a career or even thinking about it. So make sure that you have a good understanding of who you are, what you want, and ultimately why you're thinking about making a career move. And if you are making a career move, maybe we'll contact you. Magna Search Group. This is the big game, hunters. We're coming to you every week. Things are going great for us. LinkedIn, YouTube, SoundCloud, #MagnaOnAir. We'll see you next time.